Welcome back to tonight's Sad Reality. I'm playing probably one of the most brain dead games I've messed with in a while. This is Farmers Valley. I was playing with a friend last night, just because we were like, he was like, "You can play like games on Discord," and I was like, "Yeah, you want to see?" And then we both straight up played this for I think like over 2 hours. It's such a bad thing. Um, but yeah, so tonight's story, very simple idea. The club that lets anyone in. Um, And also for once I'm not recording at night. This is 9:46 a.m. so I was so tired after last night. I got a lot of stuff done, but I just wasn't feeling it, and I realized that a lot of the videos I record super late at night are usually not very productive, not very high energy. So maybe that'll fix that. I don't know. So the club that'll let anyone in retail. There's a bit of a theory, a bit of a thinking, where it's like anyone can do retail, anyone can stand behind a cash register. In fact, we've had a lot of people that like applied online, for example, and they were like, hey, if I could just stand behind a cash register, you know, they can do in the bare minimum, whatever, how much money is that worth? And I'm like, if that's what you're doing, we don't want you here, or at least me as someone who has to kind of lead the store, that's not what we want. You know, we don't want the bare minimum. That's what a lot of people expect, you know, and I already talked about the bare minimum in another video you can probably find on the channel. But what's really interesting to me, I suppose, is as someone who has to hire people, where do you draw the line, right? Yesterday, one of my coworkers, he never is at the registers, and I've learned there's a very good reason for that. It's just because we had to explain things to him like over and over and over again, and he just it never really clicked. And this ended up creating way more work for us later in the day, specifically when we're doing like the cash office and all sorts of other things, because not only did he put the receipts at the wrong registers, but he also opened multiple register tills, which we're not supposed to do, and like, I don't entirely know the reason for that. I just know, hey, we're not supposed to do that. But like, I'm fairly confident this has all been explained to him before. It's just, oh, I guess we forget things, and that's totally fine. No criticism there. Like, I think he's a good kid. It's just he's not someone that he's not our A team. You know, I was saying last night we kind of had the Z team or whatever. Like there was one customer who was like, "Hey, didn't I have this item on hold?" Like he literally brought it up for us, and he's like, "Hey, if you could just hold this up here, I'm gonna go use the restroom." And then someone put it back, and I told him, like, "I'm so sorry, sir. Tonight, it's the Z team, it's the managers and the Z team. We're doing our best. I'm sorry." But let's take this a step beyond retail. I was about to say love retail. I don't really like my job. It's something. It's not great, but it's something. Uh, let's let's get religious. Let's go into cults for a second, specifically as well. The more people you have, it's seen as more power, right? And I've said in the past, sometimes I don't think it's about the number of people. Sometimes I feel like it's about the quantity of people you're working with, which, you know, that's a bit of its own internal argument. But if you look at a cult needs people to function. And if you look at, like, Scientology and all the interesting things you can dig up on YouTube and all sorts of other things, you know, trying to watch what I say, because, you know, it's like China, where if you say anything, you're gonna have 8 assassins after you in, like, 2 milliseconds. Or so I've heard. Praise the glorious state of China. I don't know. Point is, you need people to a certain extent, but how much do you really need them? When you look at religion as a whole, we can let anyone in, right? Like, as a Christian, we can let anyone in. But is that always a good idea? I mean, you've heard stories with spies entering homes and people that aren't supposed to be there, watching Fallout the other night, and, you know, there's a Canadian spy among the Americans. Oh no. Plot twist, I guess. Although I feel like it wasn't really that much of a plot twist. Like, I was kind of expecting it based on her demeanor throughout the entire show, but like, it's whatever. I still think the writing in that show is very good for what it's worth, just because of the, like, it's very in line with Fallout 4 specifically. I haven't played many of the other Fallout games, so I wouldn't really know how to compare it otherwise. But the point I'm getting at is, you can let spies into your home willingly or unwillingly, and that's always a bad thing, unless you are working with said spies, I guess. That's not going to be something that's good. You can let people in that are incompetent to your job, and this will make life harder for everyone, maybe the customer sometimes, whomever. And the question I'm not asking tonight is, well, where do they fit in? I think that's an interesting question. Maybe I should dig into that another night. But, the question for me is, why? Why do we let anyone in? Something I've been thinking about the other night, so, like, my mom got baptized, and I'm sure you've heard me talking about my parents on this channel, or my main channel, a little bit. I don't feel great about them, admittedly, because I think we're a bit of a screwed up family, and that's fine too, I guess, but, I'm thinking, I guess we'll let anyone in to religion, you know? But how do you know someone's truly saved? How do you know someone's actually got a good heart? How do you know? And I feel like I've also said this on the channel before, it's not you're not able to ever judge the motive behind the action, all you ever really have is the action itself. And sure, we can take our best guesses as to why people do the things that we do. Like, you can take someone who lies constantly, or like pathologically, and you're like, I wonder why they do this. And maybe it's something that's actually genuinely wrong with their brain, maybe they enjoy it, who knows. But we'll never know the answer until we actually do. And whether or not that person says the answer, or whether or not they're lying in their own explanation of the answer, or maybe they're lying to themselves, who knows? It's kind of this endless game of rock, paper, scissors. But the point I'm making is, don't even play the game of rock, paper, scissors. Just leave it as is. Don't judge it. Just take it for what it is, you know? And then the day when you do realize, hey, stuff's not going well, then maybe readjust, you know? Like, the really nice thing about retail, people are replaceable. You know, that's kind of the truth of it. And that's not saying it's a great thing either to look at people like they are replaceable, but if we realize that someone is bringing things down, then don't keep them there. Move them around the store, maybe. Or find someone else to do that same job, you know? Or if they really are just doing the bare minimum, then I guess reconsider why we hire them in the first place. That's just my opinion, though. There's probably plenty of other totally valid ways of handling it. I guess to draw another parallel, so for me, I have a Discord server with 310 members currently, right? And I'm sure everyone's read the Epstein files recently, stuff like that. I'm not saying anyone's in it, hopefully, God forbid. It's in the server anyways. But you're gonna notice online, there's all sorts of people. There's a lot of really bad people you don't want around. And sometimes it's hard to figure out who those people are in a world that's so diverse and so messed up at the same time. So my goal as a leader, or at least what I've thought to be my goal, maybe I'm completely misguided in this aspect, is trying to figure out who to keep around, who to not. Like, where do we draw the line with forgiveness as well? I think that's another really important topic, maybe saved for another day. But at the end of the day, you only have so much power over some of these things if you're not the one in charge. I've always felt comfort being the one in charge, but sometimes it's also a scary thing knowing that, you know, you might hurt people who don't deserve it, if that makes sense, or hurt people in a way where it's not deserved. I think sometimes, too, we need to be hurt in order to learn things, like that coworker who doesn't really do much at the store. I'm like, well, hey, let's figure this out. And I was telling my lead the other day, I was like, hey, if he doesn't really do any of these other things, maybe it's time we start, like, saying, hey, there's going to be a consequence for that, you know, because it's creating more work for everyone else. Like, we try to handle everything nicely, and I understand it's a world that we want it to work out that way, but I feel like sometimes you have to actually break things before you can fix it, you know? So, that said, that's my mini-story for tonight. Thank you so much for watching me play Farmers Valley. Riveting gameplay, I know. I've been kind of sitting here moving back and forth trying to optimize how I want to merge things. Maybe the trick is just moving forward with it. But, yeah, a lot to think about in life. A lot of time to think about it. A lot of time to sleep in, even though this morning I was supposed to have a dentist appointment, then I got canceled because of sickness and disease. Fun. I'm actually super glad I woke up early, though, just because I feel like if I don't do that, I'm wasting so much of my day. It's such a bad habit. Yeah, thanks for watching. Maybe give this game a try if you're as bored as I am some night, and, I'll see you in tomorrow's Sad Reality. Have a good one, y'all.